Remember how in the Necky's Nuts episode, I kept calling Master Necky Necky Jr.? This is why. This big, bald, nut-spitting, purple-headed dude's name is Master Necky Sr. How's that for an introduction? This is part 39 of Overthinking Donkey Kong Country. The fight really isn't any different from Master Necky. He'll spit more coconuts each time you hit him, and you'll need to wait until he's done before you can retaliate, but the broad strokes are all the same, so chances are you'll do fine. They're tad anticlimactic, but it's not like he's the true final boss. There isn't much more to say about it. As for Master Necky Sr. himself, I'm kinda grabbing at straws here, but I think there's a couple of things we can piece together. First, the junior and senior distinctions imply that the two are related. Not that that really means anything to anyone, but yeah. Second, I think there's some significance in the placement of the two bosses. I was originally working on an angle about how all the bosses could have organically ended up in their respective areas, but I don't think that checks out. For example, I think the two Neckys would have been better off in Vine Valley and Gorilla Glacier. One is the base of the cliff and the Necky's home, while the other is the highest point of it, and that would free up Monkey Mines for one of the Gnawties. Being immediately after Millstone Mayhem, I think it'd make more sense to have one of them there. Anyway, after giving it a bit more thought, I think the locations are still significant, just not in the way I initially thought. Monkey Mines and Chimp Caverns have a lot in common. They're both mining operations. The former is where the Kremlings are potentially staking their future, while the latter was, at one point or another, the most important location on the island to them. It's my theory that placing Master Necky Sr. at the end of Chimp Caverns is because he's the Kremlings' best and probably most loyal ally on the island. By extension, placing Master Necky at the end of Monkey Mines, what is a vitally important location in their plans for the island, could be a show of faith on the Kremlings' part in their ally's son. Or maybe the Neckys volunteered to cover such a crucial checkpoint. Either way, it all ties back into the idea that maybe there was a sort of civil war on the island, where the animals took sides between Kremling and Kong. And it's all very loose. I am going to float one last weird theory for the series though. I couldn't let this episode come and go without at least trying. Right back in the very first episode, I noted how the bananas lead away from the horde, towards the level's exit, and how this could be like a trail of breadcrumbs leading towards the stash. I feel like that theory's pretty on the money, despite it having more holes than a wad of Swiss cheese, because at the end of each world, the Kongs follow the bananas to a chunk of the horde, guarded by a boss. But why is this where the final part of the stash is kept? If we roll with the established thesis for Chimp Caverns, the Kremlings aren't exactly using this mine anymore. And that's just it, I think. If there's nothing left to mine, the cavern's just a giant empty space. We're better to dump the horde, right? I don't think the Kremlings were expecting the Kongs to make it this far, let alone get here as fast as they did, but they took the dangerous shortcuts through the jungle to cover a lot of ground in a short time, and were hot on the heels of the Kremlings as they rushed to transport the horde up the mountain and into the cavern. Looking at it now, they could have just dumped it into the ocean or pulled a Joker and set it on fire just to watch it burn, but as we've discussed numerous times now, they're not the sharpest. And honestly, I don't know how well bananas would burn. I'm sure you'd get the job done eventually, but it might take a long time. Alright, that's it. For all intensive purposes, the series is done. There are 40 levels in total, but before we dive into Gangplank Galleon, there's some other things I want to get into first. As always, a massive thank you to everyone who's watched, liked, subscribed, all that stuff. It's been a fun time for me, mostly. And it's been great talking about the levels with all of you in the comments. I feel like we've all gotten to know each other a little bit, and it's honestly been one of the best parts of making this series for me. Thanks for spending some of your time with me, and for giving me a shot. I don't take any of it for granted. Be good, and I'll see you in the next one.